After receiving surprising news from my mother that my sister, who had eloped and gone missing, had returned, I came back home with my son only to find. Moreover, my sister who emerged, Molly, was astonishingly in her underwear. She burst into laughter and triumphantly said to me, "Snagged myself a luxury high-rise and a wealthy husband. Poor folks should just keep working their part-time jobs for life." But then, from behind her, came this voice. "Too bad. Sleeping pills don't work on me anymore." My husband, Mark, casually said this as he appeared. "Wait, this guy was trying to create a fait accompli with me?" He started laughing. "What's the point of doing such a thing? The house belongs to Sally, you know?" Yes, the high-rise we're living in is mine. I acquired it through inheritance from my previous husband. My name is Sally. I'm a 34-year-old working for an organization involved in the preservation of traditional culture. My husband, Mark, is also researching traditional culture in graduate school. He's a former junior of mine, 3 years younger. He's currently continuing his research while enrolled in a doctoral program, aiming to complete his dissertation and earn his PhD. Because of this, he has flexible time, so he can do things like picking up and dropping off our son, Yosef, at school and his activities, in my stead since I'm busy working and running around during the day. And that's not all. Honestly, Mark is much better at household chores than I am. He may not cook elaborate dishes, but his cooking is efficient. He cleans with minimal effort, keeping everything but his study space tidy. And he handles laundry, and everything related to it, more delicately and carefully than I do. "Let me take care of your life. Can I ask you to handle the household chores?" I believe those were the words I proposed to him with. Honestly, I fell for him exactly for these qualities. "I'm just too busy to handle anything." "I won't let you want for anything, so just continue with your research," I said. Even his parents were surprised. They even asked if I intended to treat their son as a dependent, which now feels like a fond memory. But in the end, after discussing each other's feelings, how to align our lives, and about our child, we got married, and he became a house husband. Although it's a somewhat unusual arrangement, we've been getting along and having a good time. However, one day, something unexpected happened. It was on a Tuesday afternoon. That day, instead of Mark, who was preoccupied with his thesis, I, unusually, was about to leave work to pick up Yosef when suddenly my phone rang. "Hello? Mom, what's up?" It was my mother calling. Our hometown is far from the downtown area we currently live in, about a 5 to 6 hour drive. Since getting married, whether we visit during the holidays is a question. So, we usually keep in touch through messaging apps. But she seldom calls directly. Both my parents, considering how busy I am, usually schedule a time to call. "It's serious, Sally." "What's so urgent all of a sudden?" "Molly has come back." "Molly?" Molly is my sister, 2 years younger than me. However, we haven't seen each other for over a decade. She ran away from home at the age of 18. Apparently, her husband's company went bankrupt. Bankrupt? That's right. She ran up a huge debt, and her husband disappeared into the night. So, she proceeded with divorce without permission. Wow, I couldn't help but let out a sigh. And now? She had the nerve to show up at our door, even though I told her she couldn't come in, and she left her daughter with us. What? She left her there? Yes. And she's so small, I asked how old she was, and Mom, I was truly shocked. So, what shocked you? Well, I thought she was still in kindergarten when she brought her over. But she's a year younger than Yosef. What? A year younger than Yosef? Despite looking young enough to be in kindergarten. Hey, Mom, is she really that small? She's tiny and skinny as a rail. Her skin is dry, and she's got chapped hands. For now, I gave her some snacks and got her into a shower, but she seems really uncomfortable. The voice of my mom, as she talked, sounded like she was trying to hold back tears, as if she might break off her words at any moment. But I had to ask this one thing. You didn't kick her out, did you, Mom? What are you talking about? Of course not. No matter how messed up Molly might be, this child is our granddaughter. Ah, her clothes are all tattered. That's a relief. So, Mom, where did Molly go after leaving the child? Yes, I had to know that. She went to your place, Sally. Why my place? Seems like before she came to us, she had been to an old acquaintance's place. And somehow she was told that Sally had married into money. I instinctively brought my hand to my forehead. Who knows who, but getting told half-truths like that. Did they end up giving her our address? No, but it seems she got your work-related social media account. Work-related, huh? Can't be helped. Because of my job, I have to aim for some level of promotional effect on social media. And now, Dad is rushing over to your house. Dad is? So, please, just hold out until he gets there. Wait, Mom, when exactly did Molly? Before I could get a reply, the call from my mom ended. It's just a little past 3 p.m. now. After picking up Yosef from school and taking him to his after-school activities, doing some grocery shopping while waiting. Mark has been so focused since yesterday that he won't be up for cooking today or the whole day tomorrow for sure. So, shopping is absolutely necessary. And even if he finishes writing, he'll probably just sleep without eating next. Usually, after pulling all-nighters for 3 days, he ends up sleeping for a day and a half. If I have to stock up on a large amount of ready-to-cook ingredients, it looks like it'll be past 6 p.m. before I know it. I'm worried, but what's going to happen? Wait, Mom, you have a sister? Yes, I do. I see. In the car, after finishing the shopping, I decided to lightly explain the situation to Yosef. Surprised? No, not really. I mean, it's our family, so I figured there's always something. Yosef, at 9 years old. He's quite perceptive and a bit mature for his age. Our family being a bit unconventional, he was quick to understand when I explained things. I guess he takes after his father in that regard. When I was a child, I remember just bickering loudly with my sister. In contrast, Yosef is quiet and thoughtful. Almost worryingly so. Well, yeah. There's always something. Like what? Where do I start? There are things you can talk to a child about and things you can't. You know the house where Mom and Yosef used to live, right? Yeah. Near Grandma and Grandpa's place. Well, my sister, she hated being in that town and ran away from home over a decade ago with someone she loved. Wow. That's kind of amazing. Hey. Yes, Molly, at 18, eloped with the president of a startup company who was nearly 40 at the time. But it wasn't out of love. Molly had been involved in compensated dating since high school. Our family never made Molly or me want for anything. We had savings set aside for us to go to any school we liked. And we got enough allowance every month. But it seems that was still not enough for Molly. Molly had been attending a downtown private university, but at the end of her freshman year's first semester, we suddenly got a call from the academic affairs office. Turns out, Molly was pregnant. When our enraged dad demanded to know who the father was, Molly straightforwardly confessed his name. It was the same man she had impulsively divorced recently. Furious both about the compensated dating and the man involved, our parents told Molly to leave. Molly left without a word, cutting off all contact with us. Had it been just a matter of leaving, we might have been able to track her down through her health insurance card. But Molly had married the guy. And being under his care, we completely lost track of her whereabouts. Once our anger subsided, we couldn't help but worry. Having no news from her at all was considered rude, and my parents had plenty of reasons to be angry. After all, they had to face rumors in the neighborhood and at work, feeling disgraced for raising a daughter who could do such a thing. Being a department head candidate is now out of the question, among other grievances. I've heard all sorts of dreadful stories from them. But something my mom mentioned earlier had caught my attention. The child this time is 8 years old. Which means it's not the child she was pregnant with all those years ago. What happened to that child? I couldn't help but wonder. You look scared, Mom. Yosef said, noticing my expression. Sorry, I replied. Is something bothering you? Well, yes. It's about your cousin. Eventually, we returned to our condo, struggling with our heavy shopping bags. They were so heavy that I considered borrowing a cart from the concierge at the entrance when he informed us, your sister was here earlier. Did you let her in? We checked and copied her ID, just to be safe. Oh no. I covered my face with my hand again. I'm sorry, I neglected to ensure strict entry control. That's my responsibility. So, she wasn't supposed to come in? Well, yes, but it's okay. It's my fault this time. Also, has my dad arrived yet? Your father? Please hold on, he said, going back to check. He hasn't arrived yet. I see. If my dad comes, please let him in right away. All right. I showed the concierge a photo of my dad, making sure he knew to let him in without question. Then, with our groceries on the cart, we headed up to the top floor in the elevator. We're home. Upon opening the door. Oh, you're back early, said my sister, more flamboyant than I remembered, but appropriately aged. But that wasn't the issue. What's with that outfit? Molly had emerged in just her underwear. Yosef, who had been pushing the cart beside me, was wide-eyed and speechless. What about it? She laughed, tauntingly saying, snagged myself a luxury high-rise and a wealthy husband. Let the poor keep working part-time forever. Yosef and I were dumbstruck. But then, from behind, another voice. Too bad. Sleeping pills don't work on me anymore. Mark came out, wearing just a shirt over his bare skin. Looking tousled as if he had just woken up. But the implication of the situation was clear to me. There was no way that could be true with this man. I was certain of it. You using that stuff made me lose my focus. Seriously. Wait, what? You knew about the sleeping pills? Felt a weird sleepiness, so I figured I was drugged. But that doesn't mean I can just fall asleep, you know? That's weird. Ignoring Molly's confusion, Mark turned to Yosef. Yosef, thanks for doing the shopping. Yeah, Dad, help me put stuff away. Yosef said, pushing the cart inside. Okay, Mark agreed, heading to the kitchen with Yosef and the cart. Grumbling in an exaggeratedly troubled tone. I heard from Sally about having a sister, so I figured something might happen. But to be drugged right off the bat? Well, my sleep schedule all over the place anyway, and I'm too full of thoughts to sleep unless I decide to. So, I can tell the difference between natural sleepiness and the other kind. Molly's expression became even more severe. Well, I had a feeling you were up to something, so I just played along and pretended to sleep. But really, what's your deal? Mark responded in an utterly calm manner, laying out his words methodically. Facing him, Molly, who should have been brimming with confidence, was left dumbfounded, unable to grasp what had happened. What's with this guy? It seems she picked the wrong target. What do you mean what? You're the one showing up in such attire. Did you strip him down, trying to create a done deal or something? I let out a deep sigh. Why has she always been so reckless? Yet, from the scenario, it's easy to piece together what occurred. Molly learned I lived in a high-rise in the metro area and came here. She gathered information around the neighborhood, claiming to be the sister of someone residing on the top floor of this high-rise. She found out about Mark, who is a stay-at-home husband but also does research that seems related to my job. She must have assumed Mark would be alone at home and chose a time when I was out. To Mark, after finally answering the incessant doorbell, a woman claiming to be my sister stood before him. Even though his mind was still mostly occupied with his dissertation. From Molly's perspective, a disheveled man, practically in his night clothes, answered the door. She probably thought, he's young, huh? My sister got herself a younger, high-rise owning intellectual? That's unfair. I'll take him. Then, for some inexplicable reason, she used sleeping pills to knock Mark out, stripped him, and pushed him into bed, attempting to present me with a fait accompli. But Molly doesn't know Mark. He's the type to lose track of time and meals when engrossed in research or writing papers. It was a futile attempt, and I know this better than anyone. What, she tried to create a fait accompli with me? Then Mark's voice grew louder, and he began to laugh uproariously. What's the point of doing such a thing? The house is all Sally's, you know? Yeah, what is this lady even talking about? Hey, rude! What's with this kid? Well, technically, he could call you aunt. He's my son, after all. Your son? But he's so big. This guy's still in his 20s, right? Well, yeah, he's from my previous marriage. Wait, remarried? So the marriage to a wealthy guy was... You've been away too long to know, haven't you? Finally, I made it into my house. As I took off my coat and set down my bag, Mark served me some tea, welcoming me back. I noticed a bag half open on the living room table. The only item out of place in an otherwise tidy room. It was bothersome. I wanted to clean it up immediately. What, no coffee for me? Molly glared at me as I enjoyed my coffee. I'm not inclined to serve tea to someone who'd resort to drugging. Ugh. And how long do you plan to stay in that getup? I don't want a vixen roaming around my house. First, explain to me why you're the owner of this high-rise. Why can't this sister of mine ever engage in a proper conversation? Well, it's fine. I suppose I need to explain, otherwise, she wouldn't understand. Look, when my previous husband passed away, he left us a substantial inheritance. That's how I bought this place. Paid in full, no mortgage. Huh? With your cash? But this place is worth millions. Well, this property is just a tiny part of what I currently own. Molly was left speechless. Yes, the top floor of this high-rise is entirely mine. But that's not all. I now own numerous properties, with a total asset value of $4 billion. Managing my passive income allows me to live a wealthy life and also serve as a consultant for an organization involved in preserving traditional American culture. Half for tax reasons, and half for Mark. So, my busy work is actually my role as a director of that organization. And I occasionally receive reports on land-related matters. When I explained this, to Sally, you mean? Yes, to me. You probably don't know this, Molly, but I got married right after dropping out of college. And you have no idea why that happened. What do you mean? Because of the huge mess you made, Dad's company's reputation plummeted, and we had a tough time. What does it matter what an adult daughter does? At that time, you weren't of age yet. Having a daughter involved in compensated dating from high school, we were labeled as parents who couldn't educate their child. Mom also felt ashamed for a while. Then, by chance, I received a marriage proposal from the Smith family. Smith family? Yes, the so-called lords of our hometown, that family. What? Molly gasped in disbelief. Mark then suggested, let's step aside for a bit, and moved Yosef away. Understanding it was an adult conversation. So, you married into that family? Yes, but not to the person you're thinking of. I married the older brother, the next head of the family. Huh? The bedridden freeloader, the burden of the Smith family? Yes, him. Indeed, my former husband was described that way. Born frail, barely attended school, and always under medical care. He was considered the family's burden. But that was just an external perspective. His parents and younger brother, the heir, didn't think of him that way at all. They all loved him, a man without any desires. He happened to fall for me during one of my hospital visits. The Smith lords personally came to our house to ask for my hand in marriage. Because their son, who had never wanted anything before, wished for this one thing, and they bowed their heads to me, someone much younger. I got married at 22, partly to broaden my parents' shoulders a bit. My husband passed away while Yosef was still in my belly. And even this pregnancy was through artificial insemination. He didn't have the strength to conceive a child naturally. It was a wish of my in-laws. And I agreed for my gentle husband's sake. He could tenderly watch my belly grow but passed away, leaving just a name for our child, without ever seeing his face. My in-laws thanked me for everything up until then and left me an inheritance as per his will. However, some relatives eyed the considerable inheritance left to an outsider like me with envy, so I moved to a high-rise in the city with tight security when Yosef started kindergarten. Explaining further, Molly waved her hands and head in disbelief, no way, no way, no way, no way, and yelled at me, you expect me to believe such a fairy tale story? What can I say? And what about him? You received such an inheritance and you're allowed to remarry? I was allowed. Well, not like I needed permission. But I did consult with them out of respect. They were truly kind in-laws, and they felt sorry that I spent the best years of my youth caring for a sick man and going through a pregnancy via artificial insemination. That inheritance should be enough compensation. Money can't buy time or life, they said. My kind in-laws, who had lost their beloved son to illness, understood the value of these two things well. Perhaps because they were wealthy. After moving to the city, unlike the life I had with my in-laws, I was exhausted from solo parenting. That's when I reconnected with Mark, a junior from my college days who had admired me. He became a great help to me, and gradually Yosef grew attached to him. And I thought it would be nice if he stayed with us, so I proposed. My in-laws described Mark as a harmless person with no interest in anything but his studies. The fact that my in-laws didn't oppose, rather, they supported the remarriage, might have also been a check against relatives who were pushing for their own candidates for remarriage. "So, you're the only one who got to have it all?" Molly began to say when my phone rang. "This time of day, oh." I switched the call to speaker mode. "Hello, Sally. I was worried because you hadn't replied to my messages. Are you okay?" Molly groaned at the sound. "Mom, everything's fine on my end." "That's good. But I just heard a voice like stepping on a frog. Is Molly there by any chance?" "Yes, she is." I looked at Molly with a full smile. "Mom? Why do you know this place? You always had the memory of a sieve, forgetting everything after 3 steps. You said it yourself, I'll go to my sister's place. How unfair. Why am I treated differently even though I'm also your daughter?" Molly shouted into the phone, genuinely furious. "Huh? Do you even have the right to say that? After you left, Sally marrying into the Smith family was what saved us from ruin. It might not have been outright ostracism, but with Dad holding a respectable position in his company, the rumors were terrible. All that ended within 2 years, thanks to Sally. The Smith family pulled some strings, saving our relatives, our neighbors, and the factions in Dad's company that admired him. Your actions nearly destroyed everything Dad had worked for in the most important company in our city." "That's your problem, not mine. I never asked him to succeed for my sake." Yet, our ability to attend a downtown private university was thanks to his efforts. "Oh, great. But that doesn't give you the right to hold it over me." "Maybe so, but Molly, what happened to the child you were carrying back then?" Mom's voice turned icy as she asked. "Huh? You ran away with him because you were pregnant. So, what happened to the child?" He took them. I got in touch with him, you know." Molly groaned. "No way." "Through the Smith connections when we were looking for you guys. Got his cell number and everything." Piling on, Mom said. "He was apologetic for running away, grateful for the divorce, though it seems his talent for making money was only half-baked. Seems like he was a better person than you. He said he was working far away, trying to pay off his debts. All by himself." "Alone?" I asked Mom. "Yes, alone." "Sally, you can guess what that means, right?" Mom had mentioned the terrible state the child Molly brought was in. I turned sharply to Molly. "You, the child. Stop looking at me like that. Mom said the girl you left with her was quite emaciated. That's because things have been tough lately. And yet you have such a fancy bag." I pointed to the designer bag carelessly left on the living room table. "It's clearly a designer brand, isn't it? I bought it 2 or 3 years ago. Mom said Anna looks like a kindergartner, even though she's just a year younger than Yosef." "That's right." Mom's voice deepened. "Anna, was she attending kindergarten or school properly?" She seems a bit delayed in her speech. "Of course, she was." "Grandma, is Mommy there?" A frail voice came from the other side. "Yes, Anna, darling. Do you want to talk to Mommy?" "No. I never want to go back. I don't want to return to Mommy's." Anna, Molly's daughter, started crying on the other side. "I don't want to end up like my sister." "I see." The revelation suggested a dreadful truth. "We've been talking. It seems there was a sister, wasn't there?" Past tense. Meaning. "I don't know anything about that." Molly tried to grab her bag and clothes, but Mark caught her hand, and Yosef secured the bag and clothes. Then, turning to another phone, "Hello, Grandpa, now's the time." With that cue, the front door opened. "This is police. We received a report of trespassing, assault, and child abuse. We're here to take custody of the woman accused." "Sally, you did well keeping her here." "Dad." Several police officers secured Molly on the spot. "Are you all right?" "Yes, I'm fine." The concierge, who had opened the door, stood at the entrance. "It's been a while, Molly." "Dad." One of the officers took Molly's clothes and bag from Yosef. They didn't have the luxury to dress her, so a blanket prepared in advance was draped over her. Mark pointed to the bag. "I haven't checked, but I believe there were sleeping pills inside. I'll accompany you for a blood test. My body doesn't react much to drugs, but it should still be detectable in my bloodstream. Thank you for your cooperation." Then, Mom asked me to switch to camera mode. There she was, holding a little girl in her arms. To the officers, it seems this woman not only subjected her first child to terrible conditions, causing the loss of a small life, but also turned her back on the remaining child. Our first grandchild. Anna was wearing clothes that Yosef had outgrown a long time ago. It was uncertain whether they would make it out or not. Yosef was on the larger side for his age when he was about to enter kindergarten. The clothes from that time feel a bit small now, but they seem to still fit. You can see her slender, bony wrists through the sleeves. Oh, that's my shirt. Hi, are you Anna? Yosef gently spoke to his cousin through the screen. This kindness, no doubt, he inherited from his biological father. Who? I'm Yosef. I'm your cousin, 1 year older, so I guess that makes me your big brother. Yosef. As she said this, Anna began to whimper, perhaps reminded of the sibling she no longer had. Come visit us next time. Anna nodded slightly through the screen. Well then, Sally. I'll take her from here. Sorry for the trouble. Yosef, let's invite Grandpa to play chess later. Okay, I'll be waiting. Immediately following our conversation. What is this? You all get to have your little family drama. And I've lost everything. Hearing this, I marched up to Molly and gave her a sharp slap across the face. No! Violent woman! Officer, arrest her too for obstructing official duties. While holding down a struggling Molly, the officer gave me a wry smile and tried to calm me down. Let's not go there. I'm sorry. But I just had to tell my sister. What? Everything you've lost is because of your own actions. It's nobody's fault but yours. Nothing is coming back to you, and I'll make sure of it. That child will be mine. Never again will you have any involvement with us. Let's go then. Mark encouraged Dad. Yes. We'll see you later, Sally. I'll be waiting, Dad. Take care, everyone. After seeing them off, I just collapsed right there. Are you okay, Mom? I'm just so incredibly tired. Good thing we went shopping today, huh? Absolutely. What a day it's been. And to think, it's only been about 6 hours since Mom called. According to Dad and Mark, who returned, Molly will be detained by the police for a while. She's not getting bail. Absolutely not. Dad said with a strained voice as we ate dinner late. Now that the divorce is finalized and there's nobody on their side to take her in, let's have Molly quickly tried. Eventually, Molly did receive a prison sentence. By her own actions, she had inflicted great harm on her family back home, caused the death of one child, and was abandoned by the remaining one. Now, she faces a long, solitary life ahead. Later, my parents brought Anna over to our house together. Hey, you've gotten so pretty. Yosef remarked, making Anna blush. Where on earth did you learn to talk like that, huh? Dad, stop it, that tickles. Stop. Yosef laughed as he played with Mark. Watching this unrelated father and son, Anna looked on, bewildered, at us. Is it really okay? Auntie? She hesitated, saying to live here. I had been prepared to adopt her from that moment, thinking it was the most appropriate thing to do. Initially, I had thought maybe my parents could raise her, but they were concerned about the stigma of that girl's child back home. My parents also planned to move closer to me after retirement. Until then, we agreed to travel together during the holidays. Anna seems a bit behind in her studies, so attending the same school as Yosef might be difficult. But surely, we can offer her a much better life than before. With the source of our turmoil gone, we can now focus on slowly building our happiness. We have plenty of time.